Hello, my name is Amanda Taylor, and today I'll be talking with you about toxic stress and how it can be harmful on a child's development. First, I'll be talking with you about what is toxic stress. Second, I will talk about how it can affect a child's development. And lastly, I'll be talking about what you can do to prevent toxic stress. So let's talk about what is toxic stress. So I think it would be easier to understand if I talk to you about the three types of stress there are. First is positive stress, second is tolerable stress, and lastly we have toxic stress, which we'll be talking about today. So the first one we have is positive stress. This is normal and healthy for development, and there is a responsive and supportive caregiver present. Now, this is short in duration. It doesn't last very long, and this is things like getting a shot at the doctor's office. The next type of stress we have is tolerable stress. This is more severe than positive stress, and it's a little bit longer in duration. Now, there is a responsive caregiver present as well. The only thing is it's a little bit longer, and this is like a loss of a loved one, or maybe like a tragic accident. Maybe they broke their leg, they got in a car accident, so it's a little more severe. Now, tolerable stress can turn into toxic stress when there's no responsive and supportive caregiver present. So the stress is constant and their body is always on alert. And this can really take a toll on your body. So this is a lot longer in duration. There's no responsive caregiver. This is things like abuse and neglect and possibly extreme poverty. There's a lot of factors that tie into how toxic stress occurs. Now, since we've talked about toxic stress, the next thing we're going to talk about is how can it affect healthy development? Well, like the picture shown, this rope represents the connections in the brain. Now, notice how it's barely connected, it's hanging on by a thread. That's what the brain connections look like when there's toxic stress current. And what happens is it becomes weaker and weaker, and eventually brain connections disappear. And this can lead to developmental delays, such as delays in reasoning, learning for your education, anything physical, and also it can lead to health problems such as heart disease, depression, and maybe drug use later down the road. There's a lot of different things that can occur. So how can we prevent this? Well, that's what I'll be talking about next, is how can you prevent toxic stress? So, first of all, you need to be there for your child and be supportive and be comforting, and also you want to remove any stress if it's possible. Now, this might not be possible, so the best thing you can do is get their mind off of it. Remove that stress temporarily. So, I want to thank you for listening, and I want you to remember that toxic stress is preventable. As long as there is a responsive and supportive caregiver present and you're able to temporarily or completely remove the stress so they can have a relief. Now, this can save a child from developmental delays and health problems down the road. Thank you for listening.